Hi everyone, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the Zandvoort Circuit, the Circuit Park Zandvoort here on the coast of the Netherlands for race 2 in the GT4 European Series Northern Cup. And you can see the cars beginning to assemble on the grid after what I think it's fair to say was a really rather eventful race yesterday. In fact, the race organisers working furiously to try and ascertain exactly the penalties and various other awards following what was, as I say, a very, very lively race with a packed grid of superb cars.
It was a safety car after the penalty was taken, and it did bring Charlie Phil Glue kind of back into the race to a degree. And you know, eventually winning the race when another incident between the Equipe Verschuur car of Csaba Moore and the RYS team KTM car of Ike Engelmeyer had a clash, actually on screen now.
Engelmeyer that we're looking at now.
They had a clash in the chicane just before the final set of corners, and that actually allowed Charlie Fag to take the lead and allowed Sillyhaug to take second place as well.
And it's Marinek and Maya, Steviana and Ayari, Melanie and Tresoldi, and it's Gabriella Piana. And then the rest of the grid, as you can see, the screen scrolls quicker than we can talk about it. But in truth, as you look at P17, Luke Brahms and Duncan Huysman.
They're one of the big names in this level of race.
And
you know.
we would expect to go forward.
And the same with the P25, Patrick and Merrick. We'll see them climbing up the order pretty quickly as well as Jasper.
Another one to keep an eye on is the Momo Megatron Paytrax Porsche Cayman, which is driven by Bernhard Leber in the first stint of the race, and then will be taken over by one Mr. Christian Danner.
Never heard of him. Never heard of him.
Really? Yeah. You're the only person then. So the car's weaving from side to side to try and generate some temperature into the tyres. They've got a very early morning slot, haven't they? It's as you can see. Yesterday we did not get away from the first formation lap. The race control team were unhappy. Today they're very happy, and it's all systems go as we get the greens, and it's a good start from the Phil Glue car being driven by Charlie Fag in the first stint of this race then, as they can't all go into turn number 1, which is a real pinch point here around the Tarzan turn.
And I believe Marinek has actually taken Sillyhaug for second place coming into turn 1. Sillyhaug. Leads this early stage.
Absolutely, did everything absolutely right in the start.
After that race, a drop of 7 positions following that clash they had with the number 10 car at the end of yesterday's race. So there's a dive up the inside.
Oh, that was a great move by the G55 then, up the inside, going into the chicane. And
it's
that was Stevie Order, that car being driven by Max Cobalt. In the first stage of this race, the Equipe Motorsport M4 GT4 car. Such a fantastic mix of cars there as we zoom in on that car at the moment. It's currently running in P9, and the next in the target sights is the number 71 car, the Scuderia Villorba Corsa Maserati GT4 of Paolo Melani, another silver driver as we have a spin.
And is that the... That is Sillyhaug. Yes, he has spun from third place.
So Mad Sillyhaug then is dropping down the order following that spin. Here comes the replay.
He's gone completely off.
Oh,
he's lost the back end long before the exit of the corner.
But what did for the 64 car was getting on the grass initially, because that's what. Yes, you're absolutely right. The cars. When it was out onto the grass. So now it has returned. And where is that car in the order now?
Lost 10 seconds, they've lost 10 seconds and dropped well down the order. Another car that's had actually a poor start to this race is Ivan Vlachkov. Started 13th, 7th row of the grid, actually lost several positions in those first couple of laps. 17th at the moment. And also Engelmeyer hasn't really made the progress. We thought he made 10th place at the moment, but there's still 44 minutes and 45 seconds of this race still to run as they come through the top end of this circuit. Is a long, winding turn 5.
That'll be winding.
Yeah.
As opposed to winding. Someone's belted you in the belly. Sorry.
We do have a move. Yeah.
Oh, this is for P2. This is for P2. All of a sudden, that Ginetta G55 is under real pressure now from Lennart Marianek. Experienced driver, of course, Lennart Marianek. We've seen him in a number of GT categories. He's really putting the pressure on. The Ginetta ahead, the Ginetta being driven well, but is having to defend currently, and we expected the Ginetta to get on terms with the P1 driver, but hasn't done so.
Following the two cars in front as it gets a little bit feisty down in the start-finish straight.
That's the battle for P6, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So
that's Csaba Moore, who was actually taken out in that battle for the lead yesterday, and it is Paolo Meloni car. Charlie Fagg was running in 3rd place, and actually the two drivers up front, one of which is Csaba Moore and the other which is Engelmeyer, took each other out, and all of a sudden it was gifted race victory.
Yes, you're right. So we continue to watch wherever you look through the grid of cars there. Lots of action going on, and the chase being led by Charlie Fagg at the moment. Bank this, if you will, 8 seconds up the road. 8 seconds. That is a huge amount to have created in but the first 9 minutes of this race. A lot of that has been gifted by the spin earlier on from the crossbow, which of course slowed everyone behind. Also making progress. You've got to keep an eye on Cobalt in the Equipe BMW. You can just see that coming into the back of the picture any moment now. There it is. The Equipe Motorsport BMW. The more these two are fighting ahead, it's playing into the hands of Cobalt.
Charlie Fagg, such as the fighting between Silly Haug and Marianek, Charlie Fagg was able to pull 1.5 seconds out in second alone, and it's
drama for the 26 car. It is. That's the G55 of Niels Stevianart. Schedule today, and this is the first event on track, a competitive event. We've had some free practice for the DTM cars, but this is the first real race, and therefore every other part of the schedule, which has live broadcast like this and is therefore critical, they will decide what they will do with regards to the duration of the race, and as soon as we around the Ari Leyendyke turn number 13, onto the start-finish straight already. The P2 car, which is driven now, the number 34 car.
And Phil Klug got himself a 1.4 second gap in that, as we see it change there. was a little bit of a surprise that he'd get away that quickly.
So the one that I said will be under our eyes, Ricardo van der Ende, then around the outside of the Porsche. And if he's sticking it out here and staying with it past the Porsche that was driven in the first stint of the race by Gabriele Piana. Expect overtakes to happen. Finlay Hutchison is under pressure now.
And into the barrier.
Now that really is off and into the barrier. Can the car be stopped? Yes, it can. The number 71 car, the Scuderia Villa.
That's Tresoldi.
Yeah, it is. It's Tresoldi Maloney's car, isn't it?
And I think he's done some damage. He's gone into the... He went in left front on, didn't he? But I think he may... Has he got away with it?
Looks like he has. Here it is.
Some nasty hit. He's gone very wide.
And he's just caught. He's just caught, hasn't he? He's got one tyre out onto the grass and gravel. But that was quite an impact initially, wasn't it? I'm surprised that car has turned around and he's back on track again.
I think if he's lucky, I think if he hit it absolute dead side on, he may have got away with it, but it's still a big hit.
Here we can see it again.
He's just gone wide.
Oh no, this is a different incident.
Yeah.
This is a different incident.
This is actually the 94.
And that being turned around is the number 33 Bullet racing car of...
That's Merrick, the son of Merrick. And he was hit by Mortal.
But in fairness, Merrick was, well...
I think it's kind of front onto rear, isn't it?
But there, was the overtake ever on there?
I think
it was.
Yeah. Well, that's the kind of incident you can have in the chicane from time to time, and that's Merrick. I think it's too much damage to Merrick's car. I think
that's all over.
He's done for him.
He's the car to watch. This BMW trying to upset the Hutchison car ahead. It's van der Ende then in the BMW. Hutchison in the car ahead of that. That's Equipe Verschuur car. The McLaren 570S GT4 car.
And Meyer's having a little bit of breathing room, because I do believe if van der Ende gets ahead of Hutchison, he's going to be on the back of the second place car very quickly. Meanwhile, Glue 5.3 seconds up the road. Different race almost. Glue's in the 1:45.9s, and Myers and Hutchison and van der Ende are in the 47s and 48s.
Around this sweeping final turn, this is where van der Ende might set up a go into turn number 1. Looks at the inside straight away. I don't think it's quite close enough to be able to do so. Flashes the lights furiously. Finlay Hutchison now has got the line into turn number 1, and van der Ende, whilst he was never close enough in my opinion, any opportunity he had was denied by great driving from Finlay Hutchison. And it's Larson in the car at the moment. You can almost see him rubbing his hands with invisible soap, knowing that if these two are going to be battling together, that he may be able to take advantage and move himself up a place, or maybe even 2.
And that's a good effort for Larson, who is in effect, he's an AM driver. He is in the AM class, and closely following, as we see, there's a move there on the inside.
Up the inside, that was good. Racing room and respect given by Christian Danner, as you would expect. And here comes the G55 then, as I said, would try and take advantage, and sure enough, the G55 on the inside now, and Larson surely is going to be able to get past the Christian Danner car. Indeed does so.
Well done, very well done. Opportunistic, and it's too narrow for him to be able to kind of...
And the thing is, what you have to bear in mind through that turn 1 is it's banked, isn't it? So the ideal line through there is about a car's width going in.
Absolutely, and because van der Ende is in the middle of the road, he's not committed. He's not on the outside line where he can keep his foot through the corner a little bit longer. He's not on the inside line where he can actually just dive bomb. He's in the middle, and that's not optimum to actually make that move work. And
as these two are beginning to slow because they're fighting, it's allowing Kofler to come back into the battle, I think.
And again, just less than a second. But oh no, someone's off. Someone's off.
P2.
That is second place. That's Meyer, isn't it?
Yes, Meyer is off in P2. So that means that Hutchison is elevated to P2.
So I wonder if he's actually got, if he can get...
No way. That car is being taken away.
1:48 generally, so yeah, I think this is going to be one lap dash, and Glue's already flying away.
Yes,
But this is Van der Ende. He's got one chance now to take second place, as Koffler's actually under pressure.
Yes, Koffler is under pressure. That
from Villarino in 5th place. So that's a battle for 4th and 5th. Glue, I think he's just driven away really from the back end again. You know, as we saw under the last safety car restart following the red flag earlier on in this race.
Whatever is going on behind you, you let it happen.
And Hutchison actually set his personal best second sector on this lap. And so he was under pressure and he just put his foot down and off and off and off. Another one is the 2-2-2.
It's the Lightveiler Villarino. Villarino.
From 5th place.
But Villarino, that was very clever. What he did, he came out of the gravel onto the grass and then onto the tarmac. And now we have started the final lap.
He lost it long before that corner. He was actually on the entry into that corner. He lost it because he was already kind of wobbling all over the place. But that's cost him 5th place, and he's dropped right down to 23rd.
Well, he did very well to keep the momentum on and go through the gravel and get onto the grass and then the tarmac safety road.
I was the leading pro car, Dave.
I know. So, final lap then, and Phil Glue, the pace he has, and at the moment, Finlay Hutchison is not under the pressure. He has been under. So, Glue, Hutchison, Van der Ende then, and Koffler can do nothing to get on the Van der Ende car. There, Christian Danner goes roaring through. Christian Danner just ahead of Manuela Gosner, the lady racer in the number 93 car. And, well, very interesting line taken by Koffler there as he's looking at the Van der Ende car. This is the fight for P3.
Has he got him? Not quite there, but it's going to take him onto the far side of the circuit. He's got one opportunity left, and it's going to be down the end of this straight and into chicane.
This could be very, very lively then. The number 14 car of Reinhard Koffler then.
Not close enough.
No.
Van der Ende is solid through the chicane, and I think we're going to see, unless there's a mistake made in his final corner, I think this is going to be Phil Glue victory with Hutchison behind and Van der Ende in 3rd place.
So Phil Glue rounds the final turn, then heads towards the checkered flag in another drama-filled GT4 European Series Northern Cup race. Flag falls for Phil Glue, who takes the win. P2 is going to go the way of Finlay Hutchison, weaving from side to side. Van der Ende nearly loses out to Koffler in P4.
That was naughty, actually, by Van der Ende coming across the start-finish line to weave across like that. Really not what should have been done. But meanwhile, Phil Glue and Charlie Fagg, another race win after they won yesterday's event as well. Fantastic weekend for them.
The rest of the cars screaming across the start-finish line.
And Villarino, 23rd place after running 5th late on. He's going to be absolutely kicking himself when he gets out of that car. But it'd be interesting to see where that incident began, because he was already losing it. As you saw in the replay, he was already losing it when he went off. So that happened in the previous corner.
Yes, well. So the Equipe Motorsport team then, who will be very happy with their P3 place for Max Cobalt, as you can see. And Ricardo van der Ende, who was out in the 2nd stint, the stint which came about by virtue of the car, by virtue of the fact that all the cars were in the pit lane. And there is our race-winning car of Phil Glue, Charlie Fagg, the Maserati MC GT4. Wow, well, certainly very different race to the race yesterday. And again, a race punctuated by a safety car and what was actually a race suspension, wasn't it?
Yeah, and
here's the result in full for you. Glue and Fagg take the win with Hutchison and Moore P2, Cobalt, Van der Ende P3, Angermeyer and Koffler P4. Then it was Moore and Jones, and then Meyer and Marionek, Kasperlik, Viban, then it was Piano and Ambarescu, Krayhammer and Freiberg House, and then Dall'Antonio and Fascolo taking P10 with Flachkov, Getzi, Mengozzi, Mazatis and Macbeth, Ferte, Demustia, Lefteroff and Jasper. Then it was Westman, Sladecker, Grand, Muro, Larson and Rosen. Good showing from then. And Manuela Gosner getting ahead of Christian Danner to take that P19 place in the race overall. Very, very well.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, very well engineered, very well driven. Faultless today.
Well, we have had another very entertaining race from the GT4 European Series, the Northern Cup, race 2. And there you can see the delight. Runs to the pit wall. And Verschuur very, very happy indeed. Here's super slow-mos then of the top three. First of all, we're seeing the Equipe M4 GT4 BMW of Cobalt and Van der Ende, which took the P3 position in the race overall. Then running for P2, it was the McLaren 570S GT4 for Finlay, Hutchison and Moore. Chased all the way to the checkered flag. And then absolutely unstoppable, the Maserati MC GT4 of Phil Glue and Charlie Fagg, Here we go then with the podium before we have to make haste our exit to go into another broadcast booth for the next event. P3 then for the Equipe Motorsport BMW of Ricardo van der Ende. Phil Glue and Charlie Fagg then will sprint to the top step of the podium. Well, not so much of a sprint as I expected, truthfully.
Will there be a national anthem?
Don't. We had enormous trouble yesterday with the national anthem. I think the CD got stuck. Well, it's playing out. So national anthem plays out then for our race winners on the top step of the podium, Charlie Fagg and Phil Glue then. And here comes the trophy presentations. Well, teams first of all take their position on the podium, but here comes the P1 trophy being presented. Nice trophies here in the GT4 category. And P2 received their trophy. Here's Max Brahms then from the race organisation team, making the trophy presentation to the P3 drivers. The drivers all pose for the photographs, and then the champagne will be erupted up there on the podium.